Hey guys! In today's video, we will be focusing on service dogs, so I thought I would have this one make a cameo. He's very hyper because we just went out on our walk, and I feel like I'm about to die because I just walked up to my floor instead of taking the elevator like a normal person. So you'll have to excuse the breathlessness. Hello. Hi, sniffer pants. Okay, so it's been over a year since this one and I have been working together, and so I thought I would just sort of share some of the things that I've learned about being a service dog handler and having a service dog and all that jazz, right? So let's get into it. Firstly, it's really nice to have a dog. Just in general, not even a service dog, just a dog around the house. I love having pets, especially dogs. And Sarge is very attuned to my emotions. I remember when our trainer matched us, she said that he was very affectionate, which is what I wanted, and that's true. Sarge is very good at knowing when I'm crying, and when I do, he comes and tries to lick the tears off my face in an attempt to stop me. He also is very good at dramatically begging for attention. So he does what I call his pay attention to me times, where he'll start poking me, usually when I'm asleep, with his nose so that I know that I need to get up and do whatever he wants. He's very dramatic. He's kind of a drama queen. I think that's safe to say. So yeah, having a dog is great, but again, I want to emphasize it's not the same as having a plant or something like that. I can't necessarily do things that I would be able to do without a dog. So for example, I can't sleep at anyone's house. I need to be here so that Sarge is fed and walked and things like that. And then for me personally, having a service dog does mean that I always have this debate of should I bring him to wherever I'm going or not. So for example, should I bring him to the Mall of America? He's allowed in the Mall of America because it's a service dog, but he gets nervous and sometimes he poops inside, and also there's tons of people and it's a little bit of extra work to be keeping an eye on a dog while you're running around in a crowded mall. So things like that, and then I feel guilty because he's my service dog, so I should be taking him everywhere, right? It's the little things like that that I don't think you think about. Another sort of pro and con is that when we're out, people look at him instead of me. So on the one hand, that's cool. I have a lot less strangers coming to ask me about my disability, but on the other hand, I have a lot of strangers who start talking to him and not me because I clearly am not important. He is because he's so cute. Strangers feel very obligated to come up and say, oh, your dog is so cute, he's such a good boy, or I have a dog like that, and I never really know what to say to that. I think the weirdest instance was having someone follow me, and then when I looked like, why are you following me? He said, oh, I'm not following you, I just want to walk with your dog. And I was like, can you not though? So that's another thing that's a little bit weird. I think it's also important to remember that service dogs are animals, and this was something I had heard a lot, but it's very different hearing about it and actually thinking about it. So it's very easy to get frustrated if your dog is having trouble with a new command or won't do what you say because he's forgotten or something like that. But you have to remember that they're just, you know, they're not perfect, they're not machines. Even though we try to treat service dogs like machines in the way that if I'm out with Sarge working, you shouldn't be talking to him, just act like he's like my wheelchair. He's still a dog, and still a pretty young one at that, so it's pretty common for him to make mistakes or to be sassy. So when we were in class a lot, he would want to try and go to other people and get attention, so he would try to stand up and walk over to someone else, and I'd have to say, Sarge, you need to stay here under the desk. And I was always so mortified because I didn't want to be causing any more of a disruption than was absolutely necessary. However, I am legally allowed to have him, which brings me on to my next point, understanding that you are in fact disabled enough to have a service dog. Once I got Sarge, it was really tempting to just treat him more or less like a pet and not have him do the tasks that he's meant to do, and I'm still guilty of that to this day. I don't have him open the fridge for me or open the door, even though he can and probably should, because I, as possibly demonstrated by the beginning of this video when I walked up to my third floor apartment, am always in denial about how much help I need. So it can be hard sometimes to admit, yes, I need the help from this animal, because you don't always feel like you do. Like, you don't feel that you're, as I said, disabled enough, even though I, and I'm sure you, have been evaluated by a service dog organization to decide that yes, I do need a service dog. That's why I got him. It can also be really easy to get frustrated, as I said, when they're not doing what you want, or if they're really excited and perky and happy and you're in a bad mood, but again, they're dogs. So instead I would encourage you to embrace that joy and try to let it fill you up and make your mood happier rather than getting annoyed with it. It's also really important to think about finances. You always think that your dog will never be the one to have a medical emergency, but during quarantine, Sarge had to go to the emergency doctor once and a regular but urgent vet also once because he was vomiting a lot and then he had blood in his stool another time. And that was terrifying for me, both from a monetary perspective because vets are expensive on a good day and emergency vets are worse, and from a perspective of everything in my life is unstable and we're in quarantine and there's a pandemic and it feels like the world is crumbling and now I might lose my dog. Now, luckily, nothing that serious was wrong with Sarge, but that is definitely something you need to be prepared for in a monetary sense and in an emotional sense. It's not fun to think about your dog getting sick or dying, but it's something that needs to happen no matter how painful it is. Overall, though I have had moments where I wonder if I made the right choice or if I am the best owner for Sarge or if he should be with someone else, I am incredibly glad that I have a service dog, and more specifically, I am incredibly glad that I have this service dog. As goofy and cuddly and I don't even know, as silly as he has brought a lot of joy to my life and a lot more confidence when I'm out and about, so I'm very glad I had him. And I'm glad that he's going to be with me for this journey as I go on to my adult life of not being in college and things like that. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a great week. Please like and subscribe, that'd be pretty cool, and I will see you next Sunday. Bye.